If you were to completely erase every single mammal from the face of the earth tomorrow, every human, every lion, every whale, the planet's ecosystems would undoubtedly shift, but they would adapt, they would survive. But if you were to remove the tiny, blind, slimy creature currently hiding just a few inches beneath your front yard, human civilization as we know it would completely collapse within a matter of years. It has no eyes. It has no lungs. It has no brain as we understand it. Yet this fragile, seemingly insignificant organism is single-handedly carrying the weight of the global food chain on its back. Today, we are going to expose the invisible empire operating right beneath your feet. We'll uncover why some of history's greatest minds were obsessed with them, how modern American landscaping habits are silently destroying them, and the one incredibly lazy thing you must start doing right now to save them before it's too late. Look out at your garden, your local park, or a nearby forest. It looks peaceful, static, almost asleep. But that is a complete illusion. Just beneath the surface of the soil, a relentless, highly coordinated workforce is currently engaged in the most extensive excavation and agricultural project on planet Earth. We are talking about earthworms, and for thousands of years, humanity actually understood their immense value. In ancient Egypt, Cleopatra declared earthworms to be sacred creatures, recognizing their vital role in fertilizing the Nile Valley. Aristotle famously referred to them as the intestines of the earth. But perhaps no one was more captivated by these subterranean workers than Charles Darwin. Long after he published his theory of evolution, Darwin spent 39 years, the final decades of his life, obsessively studying earthworms. He kept pots of soil in his study, shining lights on them at night, and even had his family play the piano loudly near them to see if they could hear. He discovered they couldn't hear the music, but they were incredibly sensitive to the vibrations of the piano chords traveling through the floor. In his final book, published in 1881, Darwin concluded, "It may be doubted whether there are many other animals which have played so important a part in the history of the world as have these lowly, organized creatures." But how did a soft-bodied tube of muscle conquer the planet? To understand their impact, you have to look at their extraordinary biology. Earthworms are essentially one long digestive tract wrapped in pure muscle. They don't just push blindly through the densely packed dirt and clay of your yard. They literally eat their way through it, using a series of microscopic retractable bristles called setae, which act like tiny grappling hooks along their bodies. They anchor one segment of themselves to the soil while stretching their front end forward. As they move, they swallow the earth ahead of them, pulling in decaying organic matter, bacteria, and microscopic fungi. And because they live out their lives in absolute darkness, they don't need eyes. Instead, they have highly specialized light-sensitive receptors embedded directly in their skin. This tells them if they've accidentally surfaced during the harsh daylight, warning them to retreat before the ultraviolet rays of the sun can paralyze and kill them. But the most vulnerable and fascinating aspect of their anatomy is how they breathe. They don't have lungs. Instead, oxygen simply diffuses directly into their bloodstream through their extremely permeable, moisture-coated skin. Their entire body is an exposed respiratory system in constant, unfiltered contact with whatever is in your soil. Keep that detail in mind, because it is exactly why the modern American lawn is becoming a massive biological graveyard. We will get to that dark reality shortly. But first, we have to talk about what happens to the dirt after an earthworm swallows it. What happens inside an earthworm's digestive tract is nothing short of biological alchemy. When they consume fallen leaves and dead roots, this rough material passes into their gizzard. Since worms don't have teeth, the gizzard relies on tiny stones and grains of sand the worm has swallowed to physically grind the food down into a fine paste. As this paste moves through their intestines, it mixes with a highly specialized microbiome, a soup of beneficial bacteria that chemically breaks down the matter. By the time this material exits the worm's body, it has been completely transformed. These excretions, scientifically known as worm castings, are arguably the most valuable and sought-after substance in the agricultural world. Often referred to by gardeners as black gold, these castings are a nutritional powerhouse. Compared to the surrounding topsoil, worm castings contain 5 times more nitrogen, 7 times more phosphorus, and 11 times more potassium. But it's not just about the chemicals. The castings are coated in a special mucous membrane secreted by the worm. This membrane acts like a biological time-release capsule, preventing the nutrients from washing away in the rain and allowing plant roots to absorb them slowly over time. If you have a healthy earthworm population, your yard is sitting on top of a 24/7, completely free, highly efficient fertilizer factory. Without this constant churning and enriching of the topsoil, the ground would quickly turn into barren, compacted dust, entirely unable to support the plants that feed the insects, the animals, and eventually us. But producing black gold is only half of their job. Let's return to the millions of miles of microscopic tunnels they leave behind. When you look at a thriving, healthy patch of soil, you aren't really looking at solid dirt. You are looking at a living sponge. When a heavy summer thunderstorm hits a typical chemically treated suburban lawn, the water often has nowhere to go. The compacted soil acts like concrete. The rain pools on the surface, causes severe runoff, and washes whatever topsoil is left straight into the storm drains. But in a garden rich with earthworms, their burrows, known as macropores, act like a vast subterranean drainage network. The rainwater is immediately channeled deep into the ground, absorbing hundreds of gallons of water and safely storing it far away from the evaporating heat of the sun. And when the summer drought arrives and the surface goes completely dry, plant roots know exactly what to do. They actively seek out these abandoned worm tunnels, using them as pre-dug highways to reach deeply stored moisture and nutrients. The earthworm doesn't just feed your plants, it engineers the exact physical architecture they need to survive extreme weather shifts. But here is the terrifying reality we have to face. This ancient, self-sustaining empire is under unprecedented siege, and the weapons of mass destruction are likely sitting in your garage or your local home improvement store right now. Remember how earthworms breathe? Through that highly permeable, constantly moist skin? Because they lack any protective barrier, they are extraordinarily sensitive to the chemical makeup of their environment. When homeowners spray synthetic nitrogen fertilizers, weed killers, and pesticides across their lawns in the pursuit of the perfect golf course green, they are effectively dropping toxic salts and poisons directly onto the breathing apparatus of millions of creatures. Synthetic fertilizers create highly acidic spikes in the soil that physically burn the worms. It forces them to flee deep underground, or it simply kills them on contact. Add to this the modern gardening obsession with aggressive tilling, taking heavy, gas-powered metal blades to chop up the soil every single spring. Every time a rototiller rips through a garden bed, it doesn't just destroy the delicate fungal networks keeping the soil together. It brutally massacres the earthworm population and physically collapses the thousands of miles of tunnels they spent years carefully excavating. We are chemically burning and mechanically shredding the very architects of our survival, all for the sake of a greener, weed-free lawn. So, how do we stop this silent collapse? How do we invite this vital, tireless workforce back into our yards? The answer is beautifully simple, and it actually requires you to do a lot less work. Welcome to the art of eco-lazy gardening. First, put down the synthetic chemicals. A soil rich in organic matter does not need artificial steroids to grow healthy plants. If you want to feed your garden, top dress it with natural compost and let the worms pull it down into the root zones for you. Second, stop tilling. Transition to a no-dig gardening method. Let the natural soil structure remain intact. The worms will do all the aerating your plants will ever need. And finally, the most important step you can take every single fall. Stop bagging your leaves. When autumn arrives and the leaves drop, do not spend hours raking them up and stuffing them into plastic bags to rot in a landfill. Those dead leaves are not trash. They are the primary food source for your subterranean empire. Rake them straight into your garden beds and simply leave them there. Let nature do its job, ... When you learn to step back and let the earthworms work, you stop fighting nature and start partnering with it. The next time you're out walking your dog or checking your garden after a heavy rain, and you see a worm stranded on the wet pavement, don't just walk by. Take 2 seconds, pick it up, and gently move it back into the soil. Because that tiny, blind creature is doing more to keep this planet alive than we ever could. I'm curious, have you noticed more earthworms in your yard since you stopped using chemicals? Or are you planning to try the no-dig method this upcoming planting season? Let me know down in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'd love to hear your stories. If this video changed the way you look at the dirt beneath your feet, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and share this with a fellow gardener. Your support helps us keep exposing the incredible secrets of the natural world. Until next time, keep your hands dirty and keep your soil alive.